The episode begins with Lucy once again finding herself restless and dissatisfied with the idea of living an ordinary, predictable life, especially when it comes to money. After overhearing a conversation about smart investments and financial growth, she becomes instantly convinced that she has been wasting her potential and missing out on opportunities to become financially successful. Without fully understanding the complexity of investing, Lucy simplifies the entire concept into a single belief: if something is cheap now, she can buy it and later sell it for more. This overly confident assumption becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Viv immediately senses trouble when Lucy starts talking about becoming an investor, and she tries to warn her that business decisions require knowledge, patience, and careful planning. But Lucy brushes off the advice with her usual confidence, insisting that she knows exactly what she is doing, even though she clearly does not. Soon after, Lucy hears about a bulk lot of goods being sold at a very low price due to overstock. And without asking enough questions about what the items actually are or whether there is any demand for them, she jumps at the opportunity, believing this is her big break into the world of business. The problem, however, is that Lucy does not have enough money to make the purchase on her own, and instead of reconsidering her plan, she begins gathering funds from multiple sources, including her personal savings and borrowed money, showing a complete lack of awareness of the risks involved. Viv becomes increasingly concerned and tries once again to stop her, but Lucy is already fully committed to the idea and refuses to back down. Eventually, Lucy manages to buy the goods, feeling proud of herself and already imagining the profits she will make, but when the shipment arrives, reality hits hard as she discovers that the items are not nearly as desirable or useful as she had assumed, making them extremely difficult to sell. Standing in front of the pile of unwanted merchandise, Lucy refuses to accept defeat and instead convinces herself that the problem is not the product but the way it is being presented, leading her to come up with a new plan to market the items in a creative and persuasive way. She decides to turn the bank into an unofficial sales space, bringing the goods into the workplace and attempting to pitch them to customers as if they are valuable and trendy products. Using exaggerated claims, dramatic language, and an almost theatrical approach, Lucy tries to create excitement and urgency, even going so far as to pretend that there is high demand and limited supply. In one particularly absurd moment, she pretends to be multiple customers showing interest in the items, hoping to trick real customers into believing that the products are popular, but her performance is so obvious that it borders on ridiculous. Mr. Mooney soon discovers what Lucy is doing and is immediately furious that she is turning a professional banking environment into a marketplace. But before he can completely shut it down, a few customers become curious and decide to engage with Lucy's pitch. Surprisingly, one customer decides to buy an item, whether out of genuine interest or simply because of Lucy's relentless enthusiasm. And this single sale triggers a chain reaction as other customers begin to follow, influenced by the behavior of those around them rather than the actual value of the product. Lucy quickly capitalizes on this momentum, increasing her energy and confidence as she pushes harder to sell more items, raising prices slightly and creating a sense of urgency by claiming that the supply is running out. For a brief moment, it seems like Lucy's chaotic strategy is actually working, and even Viv begins to wonder if there might be some strange logic behind it all. But the success is short-lived as customers eventually start to realize that the products do not live up to the expectations Lucy created. Complaints begin to surface, and the situation quickly shifts from excitement to frustration, putting both Lucy and Mr. Mooney in a difficult position. Mr. Mooney demands that Lucy fix the problem immediately, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the bank's reputation and customer trust. Faced with the consequences of her actions, Lucy experiences a rare moment of pressure and uncertainty, but instead of giving up, she once again relies on improvisation and creativity to find a way out. She organizes a special exchange event, allowing customers to return their items, but instead of simply refunding them, she reframes the situation by offering what she calls an upgraded version of the product, which is essentially the same item repackaged with a new story and presentation. By shifting the narrative and appealing to the customer's curiosity and willingness to give it another chance, Lucy manages to convince some of them to participate in the exchange, effectively recycling her inventory and reducing her losses. Through a combination of persistence, quick thinking, and sheer luck, Lucy manages to avoid a complete disaster, ending the ordeal without suffering major financial damage, although she does not achieve the level of success she originally imagined. By the end of the episode, Lucy reflects on her experience with a sense of pride, claiming that she has learned valuable lessons about business and investment, even though it is clear that her understanding is still questionable at best. Viv listens with a mix of disbelief and amusement, recognizing that while Lucy may not have gained true financial wisdom, she has certainly reinforced her ability to create chaos and somehow survive it. Mr. Mooney, exhausted from dealing with the situation, can only shake his head as he walks away, having once again witnessed Lucy turn an ordinary idea into a complicated and unpredictable mess. In the final moments, Lucy's attention is caught by a new advertisement promoting another investment opportunity, and her eyes light up with excitement, hinting that she is already ready to dive into her next scheme, proving that no matter how many lessons she supposedly learns, her adventurous and impulsive nature will always lead her into new situations filled with both risk and comedic potential. As Lucy continues to dwell on her so-called success, she begins to reinterpret every part of the experience in a way that flatters her own decisions, conveniently ignoring how close she came to complete failure, and instead focusing on the fact that she managed to recover most of her losses through improvisation and sheer persistence, which in her mind confirms that she has a natural instinct for business, even though anyone watching from the outside would clearly see that luck played a much larger role than skill. And this inflated confidence quickly becomes the setup for the next wave of trouble as Lucy starts developing new ideas based on the flawed belief that she has discovered a repeatable formula for success, a formula that involves acting fast, talking convincingly, and never admitting uncertainty. And while Viv tries once again to bring Lucy back down to reality by pointing out the many risks she ignored and the chaos she created for everyone involved, Lucy only half listens, already distracted by new possibilities and convinced that she is on the verge of something bigger, something more profitable, something that will finally prove beyond doubt that she is capable of achieving financial independence through her own cleverness. And this mindset leads her to revisit the remaining unsold items from her original purchase, which she now sees not as a burden but as untapped potential, and instead of trying to quietly get rid of them, she decides to completely rebrand them once again, this time with even more elaborate storytelling and presentation, believing that if she can control the narrative strongly enough, she can control how people perceive value. And so she begins experimenting with different angles, turning the same ordinary objects into limited edition collectibles, practical lifestyle solutions, or even conversation pieces for modern living, depending on who she is talking to. And while this might sound ridiculous, Lucy commits to it with such intensity that it almost becomes convincing in certain moments, especially when she catches people off guard with her confidence and rapid-fire explanations. And once again, she attempts to involve the bank environment in her scheme, though this time she tries to be more subtle about it, approaching customers individually rather than turning the entire space into a chaotic marketplace. But even with this more controlled approach, it does not take long for Mr. Mooney to sense that something is off as Lucy's behavior becomes increasingly animated and secretive, prompting him to keep a closer eye on her activities, and sure enough, he eventually catches her in the middle of another sales pitch, which leads to another confrontation where he expresses his frustration not only with the current situation, but with the pattern of behavior Lucy continues to repeat, pointing out that each time she promises things will be different, she somehow finds a new way to create problems. And while Lucy attempts to defend herself by arguing that she is contributing to the bank's visibility and customer engagement, her arguments are undermined by the obvious lack of professionalism in her methods, and although Mr. Mooney is tempted to put an immediate stop to everything, he hesitates just enough for Lucy to slip through once again, taking advantage of any small window of opportunity to continue her efforts, and in a twist that feels almost inevitable at this point, Lucy's persistence begins to yield mixed results, with some customers remaining skeptical while others, drawn in by her energy and creativity, decide to give her products another chance, creating a strange dynamic where success and failure coexist in a constantly shifting balance. And this unpredictability becomes the central tension of the episode's final stretch, as Lucy tries to maintain momentum while avoiding another wave of complaints, carefully adjusting her approach based on each interaction, learning just enough from her mistakes to stay afloat, but not enough to fundamentally change her behavior. And throughout all of this, Viv remains both a witness and a reluctant participant, occasionally helping Lucy navigate difficult situations while still questioning the entire premise of what Lucy is doing, serving as a kind of grounding force that highlights just how far Lucy's thinking has drifted from reality. And as the day progresses, the situation gradually stabilizes, not because Lucy has perfected her strategy, but because the intensity of the initial chaos begins to fade, leaving behind a smaller, more manageable set of outcomes that Lucy can handle without causing further damage. And by the time everything winds down, Lucy finds herself once again in a position where she can claim partial success, having avoided disaster and even managed to extract some value from an otherwise poor decision, reinforcing her belief that she is capable of navigating complex situations through improvisation alone. And in the final moments, as she sits with Viv reflecting on everything that has happened, Lucy expresses a renewed sense of ambition, talking about future plans and bigger opportunities, as if this entire experience has validated her approach rather than exposed its flaws. While Viv responds with a mixture of humor and concern, clearly aware that Lucy is likely to repeat the same cycle again. And as the scene closes, there is a sense that nothing has truly changed, that Lucy will continue to chase new ideas with the same combination of confidence and recklessness, and that no matter how many times things go wrong, she will always find a way to reinterpret the outcome as a step forward, setting the stage for even more unpredictable adventures ahead.